All right, guys. This is it. The final, the fourth and final video of the ORAS OU Viability Rankings. The year is
Y-
2022. Yep.
Yep. We got the spiciest of heat. Look at the screen, guys. There's a duck and a Diggersby on the screen, guys. You don't get any more heat than that.
Unironically, those can be good mons, even though they are in C tier.
Mhm.
Well, let's get into them.
Yep, yep,
So starting off first, though, we have Alomomola. So Alomomola is it's a bulky water. It's got Regenerator. It's got Wish. It has knockoff too, I believe. Am I making that up?
yep,
Oh, it does have knockoff.
yep.
Okay.
That's right. Yep.
It has really good natural physical defense with a great HP stat. So I mean, actually, its physical defense is like okay, but with the HP, it makes it like really good. But its Spadef is a little crap. So a lot of times people will more often run Spadef on it. But it's a solid mon. It's like a less offensive with less resist version of a Slowbro, but with worse, even worse Spadef. But I wouldn't say it's like bad necessarily. It's just it tends to be not as good as Slowbro, for instance. But like we mentioned, it has some moves that Slowbro does not have, which are pretty solid. But it's worse offenses kind of hold it back somewhat. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's kind of like a mixture of a Slowbro and Clefable when I think of it, like some of the utility moves it has. But um, yeah, that doesn't get T Wave though. It does get Toxic though. Usually people run Toxic. Be like Toxic, Scald, Knock, Wish, something like that. It's pretty good. Nothing amazing. What do you think, Anvil? That accurate?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's true. I think usually like people like run Alamomola with something else that can really benefit from wish passing. So they might try out like a specific AV mon or something. Maybe they want to try out like AV Gudra or some stuff like that, or Mega Aggron even. If they
Hmm.
want to give it wish support. So usually they use it with that. You don't usually see it that much on bulky offenses. It usually is like a heat specific team. Like if you're using heat or stall or something, then you'd see it there.
Yeah, so it's a more niche option, but definitely an option. Not super rare to see an OU. Okay, next up we have Chestnut.
Chestnut is known as like a spiker, but there's also that demonic set word. It's like sub belly drum, which can honestly 6-0 many teams that aren't prepared for it. But that's a video for another time. The main one that is used is spikes, and CBB is notorious for bringing Chestnut to tour like SPL, and it is pretty decent. It has like that niche of being able to, 1v1 drill, and it's like one of those spikers that is more offensive in nature. It's not as passive as like Skarmory would be, or maybe Ferrothorn to an extent. But I'd say the main thing with Chestnut is you're able to set up a bit easier versus you're able to set up spikes a bit easier versus the bulky grounds in the tier. So stuff like Garchomp and Hippowdon and Extra Drill, you can set up spikes easier versus, and then they're not tempted to spin versus you because you can just drain punch them like that. And you can also run like Lead Seed, Spiky Shield, and be an annoying nuisance to them as well. I think Chestnut's defenses are like alright too. You can like switch into Lopunny a little bit, but as you can see in like our Gore live, it's like kind of like being a grass type without regenerator is kind of unfortunate because you don't gain as much as you should, and you can't really switch into stuff like water types that easily too, because once you get burnt you're on a timer even if you have leftovers, which is unfortunate. Um but yeah, that's the thing with Chestnut. You could try running it with like a spin blocker or a pursuit trapper and see how that goes, but usually it's outclassed by a Ferrothorn or a dedicated like spike setter with the recovery, like Skarmory. So not used as much. It has decent niche of having that nice grass fighting type defensively. So maybe you can deal with dark types and other spikers like Ferrothorn a little bit better. But usually you need like a dedicated team with this too. Maybe you run like Chestnut plus Zapdos or something like that. But yeah, that's the deal with Chestnut.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. It's got great physical defense, but most of its other stats are either okay or just a little bit underwhelming. But like I said, it does have some cool options like Belly Drum, Drain Punch, Spiky Shield's neat, Leech Seed, but oftentimes you'll rather use just Ferrothorn.
Hmm.
Okay, next up, Diggersby. So as shown above, Big Bunny. So Diggersby is actually stronger than Azumarill, and it has a lot of other similarities too. So they're both bunnies, so aesthetically. So it's maybe not as cute as Azumarill. It's kind of like an ugly cute thing going on. But it's actually stronger. It has like higher base power. I think it's 55, 56, something like that.
His ears are hands.
Yes. And it has huge power, or I'm sorry, or pure power, like Azumarill, and it's actually faster than Azumarill. So it's like, oh wow, this is even better than Azumarill. Like why isn't this ranked higher? So the bulk's worse. The defensive typing is way worse. The um the lack of belly drum also makes it worse. I think. I think got belly drum. I think it would be like really good because then you could run like more bulk. The quick attacks would hit really hard. I mean, they hit hard already, but like at +2, if it was +4, it might be a different conversation. But it does get U-turn. It does get knockoff. It does get spikes, which is really funny because I feel like you never see this thing click spikes. It's got fire punch. Makes use of return, earthquake, stab earthquake. So normal ground is like solid offensively, but man, it just that the defensive typing though just isn't that great. I think the
Yeah,
normal the normal kind of holds it back a bit. But
yeah,
oh, you're gonna say something?
I agree. Like compared to Azu, when you don't have that fairy type coverage, you're weaker to way more priority moves. You have to worry about sucker punch possibly KOing you. You have to worry about mock punch doing the same thing. Um, and you're not resistant to like aqua jet and stuff too. So you really do miss out on a lot of resistances to priority moves, which is why setup Diggersby isn't as good as setup
Ozzy.
Azumarill.
Yeah. So it's probably the most underwhelming of the bunnies. But I will say, Choice Scarf set isn't that bad because it has base 70 78 speed. So it's like one point faster than Heatran, and Heatran is a viable Scarfer, and it does have U-turn. It does resist rocks, and even without like running Choice Band or Life Orb or Swords Dance, it still's got that pure power. It still hits really hard. So it's I think it's actually best as a Scarfer.
Yeah, and there's proof of that, guys. If you please check out our Diggersby live.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
I forgot we did
yep,
that. Yeah, it wasn't bad.
yep. Yeah, it was pretty solid right there.
Yeah.
Got a lot of unexpected kills, and yep, that's what Scarf Diggersby does, guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's about it for Diggersby. I think Blunder actually rates this pretty highly, which is funny. He's one of those random Monty likes. I like it too, just not it's not as much. All right. Now next Ditto.
Next up, we got Ditto. So Ditto, I think, uh, has been rising in popularity a little bit more ever since X-Ray used it in SPL, and it's for a very good reason. The first thing I want to give props to Ditto for is being able to scout where your opponent is. So uh, a lot of times in ORAS, knowing a mon's coverage is the difference between you getting swept versus them versus you not getting swept by them. And Ditto can accomplish just that. And the nice thing about Ditto is that not only can it scout your set, but it basically turns into the other mon. And with Ditto, you usually run Choice Scarf, so you will end up being faster than the other mon. So if your opponent has like let's say plus six attack, plus six speed, Charizard X that has Dragon Dance multiple times versus you, you're fine because your Ditto will be faster than that Zard X as long as you have that Scarf. So it is a really nice insurance versus a lot of HO teams. And if you guys see that replay between X-Ray and London Beats, that's basically a perfect example. And I think it's cool that X-Ray put it on like a balanced team because balance usually has problems with setup sweepers that are on HO. And by putting Ditto on there, you have like insurance against many of the setup sweepers in the tier, which is very nice. Um, I also want to say that Ditto is also pretty solid versus fatter teams as well. Um, it gives you a chance to like copy your opponent, so you can like copy regen and take damage that way too, no problem. You get to scout what sets your opponent are there too, which is very nice. And I'd say the biggest thing for Ditto versus like fatter teams is that you get five chances to get an attack off like no matter what. So you can kind of like stall out your opponent of moves by just switching in and out of Ditto. Like say your opponent has like a clef in, like maybe it's like unaware clef or something. You just bring Ditto in, and then you can use soft boil to just heal up, or wish or something like that to heal up over and over again. Then even if you run out of PP, you can just switch a Ditto out and then put it back in, and you'll reset to 5 PP, and you can just keep using moves that way. So that's a really unique way to like stall out your opponent, even if they're using like a fatter team. So that's one other thing underrated about Ditto. Um, yeah, I think like this is a mon that shouldn't be slept on at all because uh it can put in a lot of work versus a wide variety of teams, and you really have to play smart around it, or otherwise it can like reverse sweep you. So um one possible way to deal with it is through priority and just making sure you have a revenge killer in the back for Ditto. Another way around Ditto is having a substitute user. So I'd say the main sub users probably are just like fighting types, maybe like Heracross or Breloom. You got some other sub users like Kyurem too that aren't used as much, but
Oh,
usually
Suicune?
if you're behind, what was that?
Suicune?
Oh, Suicune too. Yeah, Suicune can. Yeah, so Ditto can't copy a mon behind a sub. So yeah, Suicune. Yeah, that's a perfect example of a mon that Ditto can't really do well with. So there are ways to play around it, but it is an underrated pick. The only problem I give it is that you might need like a dedicated team to it. Sometimes it doesn't fit on like majority of teams. So I think on a team like X-Ray, which X-Ray had, which was like balance, that was already had like have a good defensive core to begin with. It could afford a Ditto, but not all teams can. So that's why it's in C tier.
Yeah. One more thing I just want to say. I feel like Ditto's like a really nice mon on paper, but I think there's like a it may not be the easiest pick for some people or like some newer players because um I mean I think some people they may want to wait till like the end game to use it, but a lot of times over the course of the game it may get like no use at the end of the game for whatever reason. Maybe like they don't have like a sweeper, it's just a wall breaker, or it's like an opposing scarfer and then loses the speed tie. I feel like there's a lot that can go wrong if you don't know when to use your Ditto. So it's some games it can just cleanly late game sweep. But other games it would have been better early game to wall break instead. So part of that comes with practicing or maybe using the team it's on the right way, or maybe it's just not a great fit for the team. There could be a lot of reasons, but yeah, I think when it works well, it's great. But when it doesn't work well, I think a lot of times that's because of how it's been used. But yeah, it's C tier, but it's one of those C tiers where it's niche, but like also like really could be really devastating on certain teams. Just not for every team. All right. Next up, we have Mega Gallade. So Mega Gallade's interesting. I think it has like unironically like a top five move pool
Yep,
out of
yep.
all Pokemon. Like it gets so many moves and a lot of good moves too. You know, it gets Swords Dance, it gets Drain Punch, it gets Shadow Sneak, it gets Will O Wisp, Thunder Wave. It gets like all these like random like really like cool moves. But the issue with it is it's a fighting Mega, and it's got like big competition with Mega Metacham and Mega Gallade. I'm sorry, not with itself, with Mega Lopunny. So Mega Metacham has more power, and it has the fake out, which really help it gets Mega off really easily. And that's an issue with Gallade. It's pretty slow before it Megas. I believe it's only like base 80 speed,
Hmm.
but it doesn't have like the fake out like we said. The
Yep.
other issue is compared to Lopunny, it's slower. So Mega Gallade is a solid base 110, but Lopunny is like a blazing base 135. And yeah, so if you want more power, you tend to opt for Mega Metacham. If you want like more revenge killing and speed, though I mean Metacham's a pretty good revenge killer too. But if you just want like more speed and stuff, Mega Lopunny. So it's kind of like in between both of those megas. It's not quite the breaker of Metacham, and it's not quite as fast as Lopunny. So as a result of that, you don't really see it too much.
Yep.
However,
Yep.
it's still really strong. It also gets things like um, no, it doesn't get gun shot, but it does get poison jab, and at plus two, adamant nature. So if you just forget about outspeeding anything, it hits really hard. I think it Oko's Cliff Able after plus two, which how many things can say. I'm pretty sure it's always an Oko too after SD. So we actually have a live with it as well, like Diggersby. But sometimes it put in work. Sometimes it was a little underwhelming. And
Yep.
another issue is, it's such a great move pool. You can't fit all those moves. You got to pick four. And Mega Gallade wants a lot of moves. Like sometimes you want priority, so you want Shadow Snake, but you also want the right coverage move. So you're probably like gonna lose out on something. So it's kind of like a hard Mega to use, and it's kind of doesn't have like a role compared to like some of the other Megas. That's as defined. Because of
Yeah.
that, it's in C tier. What's up?
I do want to say though, like, if you are willing to use Gallade, it does have that small niche of being like, hey, it can like set up on unlike Lopunny and Medicham, which can only go up to like plus one if they try to use Power Up Punch, but usually they don't want to use Power Up Punch. With Gallade, you can set up an SD and set up that way. And Gallade's attack, if I remember correctly, is as high as like Kirin B's, maybe a little bit lower. But yeah, I'd say I know there's like a lot of Gallade fans out there who really want to make it work. If I were to give you a suggestion, it would probably be just for an adamant, because most of the stuff you'll outspeed with Jolly will outspeed you anyways, like Pinsir with the priority quick attack and stuff. And Mega Metagross, like you don't want to speed fight with Mega Metagross anyways, and stuff like Talonflame and Lopunny and stuff. It's better to just run Adamant Gallade with Static Zapdos, so you can like paralyze stuff that way, and then outspeed it in that sense, and deal with stuff like Talonflame and Pinsir better. I think it's one of those mons that, like Sarah said, you can't really equate it to Lopunny and Medicham because they can do so much more than Gallade. But yeah, I think a lot of people really, really want to make Gallade work. So hopefully, you know, these suggestions help you out. I think you just need static Zapdos and the right support, and hopefully you can put in a lot of work.
Yeah, that's my issue. Like the other megas we mentioned, Lopunny and Metacham, they don't really need team support. You just kind of throw them on a team, and they'll put in work most of the time.
Yeah.
Oh well, so it goes. All right, now you got one of my favorite megas that's underrated,
Oh
Anvil.
yes. Yeah. Yeah. Houndoom is also one of my favorites as well. Um, honestly, like. Houndoom is a very solid mega. Um, it just isn't used as much. But to be fair, like that speed tier, it's speed tier. I think is the biggest pro going for it because it outspeeds. It's above that crowded 350 base speed, and it's even faster than SERP after it mega evolves. So that's one thing going for it. And then the second thing is it hits hard, which is like all right, but fire, dark, and poison coverage, even for the fairies too, that is very solid coverage to have. And that's not even to finish the package, guys. So Houndoom gets access to Nasty Plot, and it also has like options like Will-O-Wisps to hit T-Tar and stuff. But the main thing I want to advocate for is Nasty Plot Mega Houndoom, which can absolutely decimate teams. And I honestly don't know why people would use Zard Y sometimes, just because that 4 times rock weakness, when they can just Nasty Plot with Doom, outspeed most of the meta and just win that way. um, I know Zard has like good wall breaking capabilities, but guys, do not sleep on this. This Mon has very solid stab options, and it also has Sludge Bomb, like I mentioned too. So don't sleep on Doom, guys. Like it can put in a lot of work versus many teams. Um, Very few Mons switch into this, and they can easily be taken advantage of. All you gotta do is pair Doom with like Breloom or Keldeo, and then you'll start grabbing kills left and right. And I feel like it's like very like easy to support too. It's like not weak to much, and then the weak stuff it is weak to is very easy to patch up. Gotta just put a like a water resist, like Slowbro that can work, a ground immunity that's like plentiful in this meta. Um, I genuinely think it is not as high up because it's not used that much anymore. And that I think is the only reason, to be honest. It is a very solid mega.
Yeah, honestly, it was probably could have been higher
Mhm.
because like, I mean, the main issue it has is it's rock weak, but you can bring it in on like a psychic attack or a fire move if you got like flash fire. So actually, it isn't even that hard to switch into, and its base speed, in normal form, is 95, which is still pretty solid, for a pre mega.
Yep, yep.
Um, in Mega Evolves, like, it gets some decent bulk and resist. Yeah, honestly, this could be like C tier, C plus tier at least, but
Mhm.
that's okay. Yeah, Salamon. Oh yeah, and plus two nasty plot kills standard clefs these days using Sludge Bomb.
Yep, yep.
Also, I just looked on Smogon, the set they have for OU and ORAS. Kind of bad. It's like utility attacker that has Fire Blast for some reason. It doesn't have Sludge Bomb. I think that's kind of whack.
Oh, shoot.
It's like utility. I don't know. It's weird. Whatever. I wouldn't recommend that one. Just nasty plot, flame, dark pulse, Sludge Bomb is probably all you need. All right. Now we got Latios, Mega Latios. So Mega Latios is funny. It actually hits less hard than regular Latios that has Life Orb. It's got like a little more bulk, but I don't know if that little more bulk and less special attack is really worth the Mega slot. But the one thing it has going for it is it has 130 base attack. It keeps the 110 base speed, so it can viably run Dragon Dance. I think this was I saw it from a video from Joey. He had like Dragon Dance, Zen Headbutt, Earthquake, and Ice Beam.
Yep,
And
yep,
I
yeah.
think I'm pretty sure that was from him. And I tried it. It actually is pretty fun.
Yeah.
Like you don't really need the physical dragon to move. Like psychic and ground is actually pretty solid, and Ice Beam like beats all like the bulky grounds pretty much. Cause you still have like a pretty ridiculous special attack stat, even uninvested. So Ice Beam just kind of goes through all them, like all the Garchomps and Landorus's and stuff. So
True, true.
it's pretty fun, super niche, not that great of a mega really to use, but it is fun. So just for that, it's in C tier.
Yeah, but I also want to add like if you're trying to use Draco Lot Megaladios, uh use mix let me take a step back. If you're using Latios Mega, make it mixed, because if you're just using a special Latios, then just use specs or life orb, because it isn't worth it to give up the mega slot. If you want to use Latios, make it mixed. Run EQ or something. You can make it DD, or you can just make it like psychic EQ, ice beam, or something like the Sun and Moon set. I will say this though, I think Mega Latios has really nice synergy with the Will-O-Wisp Talonflame. They take care of each other's checks pretty well. Latios can psychic stuff like Rotom down pretty easily. It can EQ stuff like uh, Heatran and Tyranitar pretty easily. And then Talonflame can wisp dark types like Bisharp and Tyranitar pretty easily
Yeah.
too. So they work very well together. If I were to give you any suggestion, run Mega Latios with Talonflame, and maybe even Keldeo too if you want to work it that way, like doing the dark types and stuff. But I think you can work with the right support, like many of the other mons in the tier. But I definitely think if you're trying to run special Latios, just run the normal Life Orb or Spec set.
Yep. All right. Nidoqueen.
All right. So Nidoqueen, a little bit lower than Nidoking, and this is because like it's more like used utility wise as like a toxic spiker. Um, it has better
Anvil, you there? Oh no. Nidoqueen heard us talking smack. He got Anvil. Oh no. Is your buddy? Guys, this is we're off script. We're off script. Oh, goodness. Well, hopefully Nidoqueen will return Anvil back. But in the meantime, I suppose I can. Oh, never mind.
Nidoking of me on my phone. Sorry, guys.
Okay, we're back. Good.
Yep, I didn't know that Nidoqueen lived in New Jersey, but uh,
Oh man.
yeah. So Nidoqueen mostly used for its bulk toxic spiker. Can still put in decent work versus stuff like Clef and Heatran, but yeah, usually not. If you want to use a T spiker, most people will resort to Cofagrigus.
Yeah,
Uh,
way better
yeah.
in my opinion. It also spin blocks too.
Yep, yep.
It's not scared of extra drill. It's really big. All right. Uh, Politoed. Politoed is the only weather, or I'm sorry, only drizzle haver in OU, and that's really it. It sets up rain, usually necessary for rain teams. Uh, yeah, that's really it. It's got decent bulk, but otherwise it's pretty bad. This isn't Gen 5, without the permanent weather. I mean, even there, it's pretty bad. Like it's like a mon. It just has the permanent rain. It doesn't even have that now. And rain's pretty. I say rain is probably the worst weather this gen, because usually, I mean, at least sun you pair it with like sand. So I'll say that's better. Like you'll see like sun more than you'll see rain. And if you do see rain, usually it's bad. So yeah, Politoed has rain, but who cares?
True, true. Unfortunately, Pelipper does not have drizzle in this gen, so no defog, no U-turn. That's why Politoed is on this list, and uh, the Pelipper isn't even on here.
Pelipper's not really a mon yet.
All right. Next up, Porygon 2. So this thing, man, you would not believe the things that this mod can switch into. It is absolutely insane. My first experience with Porygon 2 came from Sarah when they were trying to build a team and they were kind of weak to Volcarona, so they put this on here, and I was like, huh, how does P2 deal with Volcarona? Well, Sarah put Psych Up on their P2, and you would not believe it, but it like walled Volcarona. Like it just kept psyching up the quiver dance because it could not break through Porygon 2 whatsoever. It was actually one of the most satisfying things I've ever seen in my life. Um, and that's the psych up P2, you know, versus like everything else. This thing has bolt beam coverage, so it can be an absolute nuisance to most of the mons in the tier. Um, like if you look at mo let's look at screens teams for example. Um, Altaria doesn't like ice beam. Volcarona, as I just said, can get walled by Psych Up P2. Um, Landorus, you can just beam that turn one. Syrup, you can do some discharge and ice beam shenanigans. But yeah, it is an absolute nuisance. And the scariest thing about this is if this thing psychs up your setup sweeper, if it's special, then it can just sweep through your team probably with Volt Beam, which is very scary too. But I also want to, point out its ability trace. So trace allows you to copy the opponent's ability, and this thing is very solid when you know how to use it correctly. So you can trace stuff like intimidate from Landorus, which is very nice. You can also trace stuff like flash fire from Heatran, and I think the biggest thing that I've noticed using or using Porygon 2 recently is you trace water absorb from Volcanion, and people have been spamming that left and right. So being able to just switch freely into Volcanion without any worry whatsoever is very solid. Like it just
besides the toxic, I mean, yeah, the toxic if
yeah,
they have it.
yeah. So and then the thing is, people don't realize that it's a switch in, so they just go for Steam and they'll be like, "Oh wait! Oh shoot, P2 just ate that Steam." Like whoa.
And that's why I paired it
Um,
with a heal bill, just in case it did get a toxic.
yeah, yeah, that is true.
And it does get discharge, which is also how it helps beat like its the things that are setting up on it. So
Yeah,
so
yeah,
you
exactly.
discharge, they get paralyzed, and even if like they crit you, then you just bring in like something else to just revenge kill. So even if it doesn't directly, beat them on, it'll usually set up something that will. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
kind of like a more offensive Chansey, kind of.
Yeah, yeah, actually that's a good point. And I think the like if you know how to dance with P2, you can absolutely like you know like humiliate your opponent because they have to go for certain moves to even like dent you. Like for example, say your opponent has like a Landorus in, and their only chance is to like knock you off. You could like switch it easily into something else pretty safely. Um, say for example your opponent is using like I don't know what gets like fighting coverage. And it's pretty weak.
Oh, it's weak.
Uh, yeah.
A weak fighting coverage mon. What do you mean by weak?
Let me just say, hammer arm Metagross,
Oh,
which
okay.
honestly hits pretty hard. But your opponent, like, let's say Mash, it doesn't 2 KO you. They have to go for hammer arm. You know they're gonna go for hammer arm, so you could easily like switch into something else and threaten the Metagross out, which is very nice. And this thing also switches into Megazam pretty nicely. And for not being a Chansey, I'd say it is pretty solid to threaten Zam out with discharge. And yeah, like Sarah said, it's nowhere nearly as passive as Chansey
Oh,
with
not at
those
all.
discharges and ice beams. So really, do not sleep on this mon. This mon has very underrated bulk. Its ability trace is very solid too, and then with Eviolite and Psych Up, it can decimate special attackers like nobody's business.
Yeah,
And yeah,
I think the only thing it doesn't like that's a special attacker would be like a Keldeo maybe, you know, and
oh,
the
true.
Manaphy that has Rain Dance, because then it can't paralyze it,
Yeah, 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 that's true.
and the tag will hit a little harder. But yeah, so Solomon this also could be higher, but you know, maybe next time if we do one of these again in the future, it'll be higher. We'll see. All
True, true.
right.
Hopefully, you guys use P2 and realize how good it is. Then the usage stats go up, and people might use it more. But
Yeah, that'd be nice. All right. Now we got Rotom Heat. So Rotom Heat is probably like the best non Rotom Wash Rotom. It's got really interesting type of electric and fire. which resists a lot of things actually. Now, this isn't Gen 8, so it doesn't have heavy duty boots, so you are taking, you know, quarter health from rocks. But despite that, it's, it basically like neutralizes things like scissor, mega scissor,
Mhm.
and can be Bisharp pretty easily with overheat. Same thing for Ferrothorn. So these are some things that can annoy Rotom or bother it somewhat that aren't really an issue for Rotom Heat. But that Rock's weakness, it really makes it not as good, consistent because you're taking a lot of chip damage, even though you resist a bug, unlike Rotom Wash. Like I said, when we take the rocks into the U-turn, and then they bring in like something that could hurt you. You'll be switching out again, so it just isn't as splashable. Also, since it's Rock's weak, it's not a great Scarfer like Rotom Wash can be. So because of that, it's in C tier, but it does have a niche, like I said, but just not the same as Rotom Wash.
True, true. And on a similar note, Rotom Mo, a little bit lower than Rotom Heat, but it also has its own niche, I'd say. Uh, Being a Rotom that can threaten out other Rotoms is pretty fire. Um, it also can switch into stuff like Serp, and T-Wave it pretty nicely too. It's not weak to rocks, which is also something else going for it. Only big thing I would say is it is weak to U-turn, so that could be an issue, especially if you're, trying to go up against like a Landers or something.
Mm-hmm.
And Tornadus T can like you can't switch into Hurricane from Tornadus T or Heat Wave either. So you do have a couple of more weaknesses, just for that small ability to threaten out a couple of water types more and grass types with the T Wave and stuff like that. But I think with the right support, like many of the mons in this tier, you can put in a lot of work. I think Raptor might have used this in SPL, but oh, Raptor and I think CBB used it in SPL finals of last year, where I think it put in a lot of work. I think it was like Scarf, Rotomo, so it could like Leaf Storm and Revenge kill a lot of water types, which is pretty cool. But
Mm.
I think yeah, you need the right support for sure. And I think Sarah made a team with like Mandibuzz and stuff like that, which was
Oh yeah,
really good
yeah,
back in the day.
that one was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I guess we're done with this page now. Let's go
Yep.
to the next part of C tier. So we're here at Salamence. So Salamence is not quite the threat it was back in like Gen 3, where it was like probably one of the best mons in that tier of OU. And it's definitely not at the same level it was in Gen 4, where it was Ubers actually. But, well, Salamence does have a place in Ubers, but the Mega version. Sadly, the Mega is too good for OU, so we just have regular Salamence. But Salamence, it does have some nice traits going for it. It's got the 135 base attack. It's got 100 base speed. Dragon Dance. Actually has like a solid special attack with like I believe 110 special attack. And it gets things like Flamethrower, Fire Blast, Hydro Pump, Draco Meteor. So it is actually usable. So it could be mixed. The issue is, well, it's Rock's weak. So it does get defog, funny enough. But with things like, Weavile in the tier and Clefable, those are really the two big ones I'd say. And Slowbro. With those guys and, a few others, it's really hard to get it going or to get it to sweep or break anything, really. And you're not running like Choice Band on this in ORAS. It's not going to be doing much good for you. So it's a very needy setup sweeper, which usually isn't worth it. I do have a team with it. I have it like I think flamethrower on it for coverage, but it's a really niche pick, and the team's kind of goofy. So I wouldn't. I don't think I'd run it in like a serious game. So because of that, oh, and it does have Moxie though. It does have Moxie as well. So it's intimidating Moxie. So it's kind of like Gyarados. But unlike Gyarados, it doesn't have like some like cheese it can pull off as easily. And I don't believe the bulk is quite as good. And I don't say the typing is not as good either. I don't think, at least defensively. Um, yeah, I don't know. That's really all I gotta say about Salmon. It's like if you get it to work, it's great, but it's really hard to get to work.
Mhm. All right, next one, Sceptile Mega. So Sceptile Mega sucks. Just, just kidding, guys. Just kidding, guys. This is my favorite Mega, and if you've seen our SPL midseason analysis, you know everything there is to know about Mega Sceptile. But I'll just say it here once again. Mega Sceptile, known for its offense slaying capabilities, really solid speed tier. It can hit very hard, and I think if you were to use Mega Sceptile, please use a naive nature so you can hit even harder. Um, I don't think you usually need the speed, because you'll probably switch out versus Weavile anyways. Um, and you don't kill stuff like Main or Lopunny anyway. So if, you can take that out of your mind. But main thing with Sceptile, coverage options very solid. Very solid mixed options as well. I'd say Grass Dragon, uh, ground and rock coverage is very cool, and it hits a lot of things. It also has HP fire coverage too for Ferrothorn and stuff as well. Um, I'd say if you're using Mega Sceptile, it's probably as like a lure, and I think it is a great mon that can lure stuff in. Um, Fire types like Zardex and Talonflame love to switch into this, and if you just snipe them with Rock Slide, it's the most satisfying thing in the world. Um, I had a game I think versus like Enzo or something where he was using like screens or something, and then he tried to set up with his Volcarona in front of my Sceptile. I just click Rock Slide and took it out of the game. So it is pretty nice when you can, grab a couple kills that way. You can do that same thing to like Heatran and the Magnezone and stuff too, which is very cool. You can do that same thing with like HP Fire to Scissor and Ferrothorn too, which is also pretty nice. Definitely don't sleep on this Mon. Uh, you can also run like Lightning Rod with it. I mean, with Lightning Rod, it is pretty solid too because you won't get T-waved and stuff. So you can deal with Prankster Thundurus, which has been, roaming around a lot recently pretty well. Um, and I think Grass Dragon is underrated in the fact that it has really nice synergy with some of the top mons used in the current metagame. I'd say Volcanion and Sceptile pair so well together. I think Tyranitar Sceptile pair really, really well together as well. Um, Definitely a mon you shouldn't sleep on. I think our Sceptile Live is unlisted, but
Yes.
maybe we might do like a new one.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind.
Because yeah, it's one of those mons you don't want to sleep on. I
Yeah.
mean, sure, it's not physically, bulky and stuff, or especially bulky, but that coverage is too nice, man. It's too nice.
Yeah. It's an offensive grass type. It's super fast. It can viably run mixed or physical. Well, maybe purely physical might be a little bit of a stretch, but it has some tools to work with. It's definitely worse ones you could use. Okay, now we got Scissor. Now, this isn't Mega Scissor. This is just Base Scissor. So Base Scissor is not quite up to snuff, I'd say. I mean, you may see some people on lower ladder, in particular, using a Choice Banded set or maybe a Defog set, which I actually ran once, like on a team like 2 years ago. Um, it can kind of defog. It can kind of you know, be strong and annoying with the choice band set. But honestly, the low speed coupled with the lack of bulk compared to regular, I'm sorry, not regular, like compared to Mega Scissor, makes that kind of not really great. Oh, in my opinion, you're better off using Mega Scissor which is already one of the best megas in my opinion. It has more going for it. I mean, you lose the item, which could be a leftovers or a choice band, I guess. But honestly, it's a worthy trade losing the leftovers for the Mega Stone or Mega Ice or whatever, Scissorite. Yeah. Um. Yeah, I don't know. Just use regular Scissor Mega.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, it's like strictly better. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
True. Um, yeah, Scissor Mega can take like so many more hits compared to normal Scissor, and like um being like an actual like one of the best knockoff absorbers in the tier is no joke. As Mega Scissor, that is.
Yeah, I guess like a 50 point boost to its defense or something like that. No, a 40 point boost. Ridiculous.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the next one, Scolipede. So Scolipede, I think, is used more on HO teams, and it's known as like a offensive spiker or T spiker. So the main deal with Scolipede is you run like Sash, so you get up your hazards, you the opponent brings you down to your Sash, you endeavor, and then your teammates can take it out that way. Use it as possible setup fodder. Up to you. I think Amir has a solid Scolipede set that I just uploaded onto the database. So that set can live a fake out and to return from Lopunny, and then it can also Oko Lopunny with superpower, which is really nice. You can also deal with drill too. Um, yeah, with Scolipede, you can run it offensively in different ways. That's one just example of Scolipede. You can also try like SD Scolipede, which honestly, I think like Chestnut, I think you can put in work versus a lot of teams with the right support. And the main thing with Skullbeat is speed boost. So you can set up, you'll get a speed boost, and then you'll be faster than most mons in the tier. So you can run coverage options like EQ, stabs, of course, and then like stuff like Aqua Tail maybe to hit
Mm-hmm.
Landorus and Heatran. So definitely a mon that you gotta watch out for, and it can honestly grab a couple kills if you run into the wrong set at the wrong time. So definitely don't sleep on this mon. It can put in work, but it's restricted to a few play styles, so that's why it's not as high up as
Yeah.
some of the other mons.
Yeah. Still not bad though. If BP was still around, Baton Pass, probably be a lot
Oh
higher.
yeah.
But it's still solid. Sometimes as like a linking cleaner or sweeper. But yeah, there are a lot of things that just kind of like hard beat it, like a Talonflame, for instance. All right, and we got Slow King. So Slow King, I feel like since the beginning of its since it's been around, Slow King's always been seen as like the worst version of Slowbro. They're
Oh, I
very
think you
similar.
skipped code. Sorry.
Oh my bad. Yeah, and it's funny. It's one of the featured ones on the right. So Seismitoad. So since its introduction, it's always been seen as a worse Slowbro. No, no, it's not Slowbro. Okay, it's kind of like a newer version of Swampert, and I wouldn't say it's worse per se. It's got like the water absorbability, so sometimes it would be seen in OU as a answer to Keldeo because it would just take all the water moves, and these things tend to be run physically defensive, so they go for Secret Sword. You wouldn't do that much, and you live. Maybe you'd run Protect a Scout if they had like HP Grass or something. But yeah, it's a mon that gets up rocks. It has Water Absorb, which is nice, but it doesn't. It doesn't really do enough, I think, to separate itself from like other bulky waters. Like getting access to Stealth Rocks is nice. Having a Swift Swim is actually nice, although it doesn't really have the like the move pool to make the most use of it. I think it's more forced to run special, I believe, which is it's a little worse than that physical attack. I think it's like base 85 or something like that. which it's not that great. Um, a super niche option there. Um, yeah, honestly, it's Ferrothorn exists.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like with Ferrothorn, a lot of bulky waters just aren't as good because you're better off running a Ferrothorn. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that sums it up pretty well. Um, I think Water Ground is always underrated because it has really nice synergy with other mons in the tier, like Zapdos, Heatran, and stuff. You guys saw that replay with Luigi versus CBB. We had a pretty solid like defensive oriented team with Sasmatode on there. Um, and while Sasmatode didn't really do much, it just its presence was very annoying for Luigi to deal with because his Rotom couldn't, volt switch freely versus it. He couldn't Hydro the Heatran as freely either. It was very annoying to deal with just because of that defensive typing and ability. Um, but
Mhm.
yeah, moving on to Slowking. So Slowking, through its advent, like Sarah said, is always seen as a worse version of Slowbro. Um, I think Slowking has to, jump through a lot of hoops to make it work. So you got to run stuff like Protect and T Wave to deal with Zard and the Pursuit Trappers and stuff. Um, and that's kind of annoying too. I think the niche that Slowking had versus Slowbro was that it could switch into Dracos better. But now that we got the new, AV Tornadus T, it really doesn't need that role anymore because it can switch into Dracos, it can switch into Keldeo a bit easier too. Um, so that's always nice. Slowking can be used similarly to Torrent, where it can like have the additional role of being able to scald and T-wave stuff, but it lacks the utility of knockoff and U-turn that Torn has. In my opinion, I think the best Slowking right now is probably like AV Slowking with Dragon Tail, and then you just pair it with Spike's Ferrothorn,
Mhm.
and then just see those HO mons desperately try to set up, and you just phase them over and over and over again. And you eat like a surprising number of hits. You can eat Thunderbolt from Thundurus T pretty easily and phase it out. Same thing with Volcarona. You can eat a +1 Volcarona's attack. You can eat normal Volcarona's attack pretty easily too, and you can like stay in on a majority of electric types, which is pretty hilarious. I think I had a match where I just stayed in with my Slowking versus like a Mega Main, and they were like so confused as to why I was staying in. So they kept like over predicting and stuff, and then they just like volt switched on me, and it did like 50, and that was a crit. So yeah, don't sleep on AV Slowking, guys. It can put in a lot of work.
Yeah,
Uh,
I actually have a team, pretty heat team with Slowking. It's like a mixed defensive. So it actually could live a pursuit from a Weavile with that spread, but you just run like a Scald, T Wave, Slack Off, Protect, and it's pretty solid. But um, basically, Slowbro can do like something similar. Oh, another cool thing it gets flamethrower just like Slowbro, but it also gets something that Slowbro doesn't get besides the Dragon Tail. It also gets Power Gem, which is pretty cool. Not many ones get Power Gem, so
true, true.
risk free, decently strong special rock move. It gets it.
Oh, you know what? I think the Slowking get nasty plot. I swear the Slowking got nasty plot.
No, does it? I
Um,
actually don't know. It gets Belly Drum, pretty sure.
I think Persephone had like a trick room team with it, and it was like nasty plot Slowking, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's one niche also has going for it. Please correct us if we're wrong. Uh, but yeah,
I'll
actually,
check real quick.
I really find this.
Oh, it
Yeah,
does.
I'm
It
curious
does get.
too.
You're right. It does. It does get nasty plot. That's cool. I didn't know that. So that's something else that
Yeah,
has
that's
over
something
slow
new.
bro. Huh. Maybe this is a mon that it's not you seen much right now, but maybe people just haven't explored it enough. I can see this thing rising. Anyway, next up we have Sylveon. So Sylveon, basically since the beginning, has been seen as the worst version of Clefable, and I want to keep using that as long as I can. So Sylveon, much like Clefable, is a pretty bulky fairy type, but unlike Clefable, it doesn't get access to rocks. It um, It does get Moonblast, but generally you'll probably want rather run Hyper Voice because you have Pixelate ability, and that just hits harder at the expense of, you know, the potential 30% drop with the special attack you get with Moonblast. But Sylveon also does get Calm Mind. You know, it does get Psy Shock. I believe it gets Draining Kiss. I think. I think it
I
gets Draining
think
Kiss,
so.
but it doesn't get like a fire move. So it doesn't get Mystical Fire like it does in Gen 8. But it does get Heal Bill, Wish Protect. And as usual, you see Hyper Voice, Wish Protect, Heal Bill, something like that. But it really doesn't have much for Steel types, and that's really like what holds it back compared to Weavile, compared to Clefable, which has Knockoff. You know, it has Flamethrower, Fire Blast. Um, yeah, those moves. It does get Stored Power, which is cool. Actually, it actually has like a decently solid physical move pool. It's too bad its defenses are so bad. Defenses is attack is so bad. What's really unfortunate is I think Sylveon would actually have more of a niche if like Baton Pass was still available.
Oh, true, true.
Yeah, not even like just for like cheesy BP teams, just to like have like momentum because Clefable doesn't have that. So I think losing Baton Pass made this thing a lot all less good, which is kind of sad. I feel like we would actually like see Sylveon if Baton Pass was still around. And actually, I wouldn't mind them suspect testing Baton Pass again.
Yeah, I think dry passing would be so nice for this tier, to be honest.
Yeah,
Like you'd be able to
I just like
get so
the
many
yeah, I just like the idea of
moves in.
passing. It's nice. Anyway, Tentacruel, man, you got
Yep, yep, I got you. So, Tentacruel, he was one of the scariest and annoying mons to face on rain teams in black and white because of that rain dish. But now it is a worse version of Starmie, which is kind of unfortunate because that defensive typing is very nice. Too bad Descendant Toxapex completely blew it out of the water and does a better job than it. But Tentacruel has a niche of being a toxic spiker and a rapid spinner at the same time. Uh, Defensively, it is pretty solid, especially defensively, and you could viably, in my opinion, you can run Haze to deal with stuff like Clef and Volcarona pretty easily too. And with T spikes, that does become pretty scary to deal with, especially if you're using like an offensive team and your spinner is Exadrill, which is weak to Tentacruel's called. So that is, always something to watch out for. And Tentacruel's speed isn't that bad either. I think it is quite high actually. I think it hits like 317 or something. But
oh speed. It's
yeah,
328.
Oh, okay,
It's a base
328.
100
So
speed
yeah,
tier.
it is pretty fast to begin with, and that special attack isn't that low either.
Oh, 80, yeah,
Um,
scary.
yep, yep, and as CTC best said, you know, drop the use the acid spray, drop that special D. Tentacruel can use that too, and it can hit harder and harder. Every time it uses acid spray, except when you use it on superior. Please do not use acid spray on superior, guys. Uh,
Oh wow, that's scary. I never actually thought about that interaction.
yep, yep. So yep. So Tentacruel, usually you would pair it up with stuff like Ferrothorn, and you'd like Spike Stack and stuff. They honestly have pretty nice synergy with each other, and Pharaoh can like leech seed fire types and stuff, and Tentacruel can like come in on them and gain HP, which is really nice. I also want to say that when Sarah and I used Tentacruel, we underrated it a little bit, but it is one of those spinners that can indirectly chip down Ferrothorn so much you would not imagine. So if Tentacruel burns Pharaoh and Pharaoh tries to leech you, you have Liquid Ooze, so it doesn't even gain HP back. It just keeps losing HP. So it'll get burnt and then it'll get Liquid Oozed, and that Ferrothorn will go down like crazy. And then you can just like spam spin versus them like no problem. Um,
It's pretty funny.
that Yeah, that was honestly one of the most hilarious things I experiences we had using Tentacruel. But the unfortunate thing is, it doesn't have recovery. So you might have to run like Protect or something like that. Which honestly, people were like, talking smack about Tentacool, but they ended up using Protect Volcanion, which in my opinion, like that does the same thing, where it's like weak to rocks. And yeah, I honestly I think the only thing Volcanion has over Tentacool is that water absorbability. But other than that,
And
like,
power.
oh yes,
And
true,
the great stabs. But, besides that.
yeah, true, true. Like you can spin with Tentacool, guys. You can
Yeah, yeah.
spin with Tentacool, and it feels like Empo in a sense, but I think Empo won my heart over, so it's hard for me to like compare it to him. But
Empo's better.
if you want
Empo's better. It's
to,
okay.
yeah, if you want a spinner and a T spiker and like a hazer
And
with
knockoff?
scald and yes, knock off two and Ash's spray. Don't forget about that
That's
dropping the
pretty
special
solid.
D guys. Yep, yep.
Yeah, it
Uh,
has a great move pool, honestly, Tentacruel. It's just, I feel like if it was just like a little bit more stronger, that if it was like base 100 special attack, maybe, it would see more play. But it's funny, you compare it to Starmie, and it basically is like a slower Starmie with like a unfortunate, ground weakness and even less power than Starmie, which Starmie has like pretty like mediocre special attack normally. It has even less. Sheesh. But
yeah,
it's still usable. It's still usable, just not great.
yep,
Okay,
yep.
now I got Umbreon. So this is I believe Faded Keys' favorite Pokemon, and
Oh yes.
It's C tier, but don't let that fool you. It probably is like the best evolution in OU, I'd say,
Yeah, yeah.
because it's ridiculously bulky on both sides, and Dark typing is actually like really solid defensively. It has Wish. It's similar to Sylveon in that it has Wish Protect, Heal Bell, but it also has Foul Play, so it can punish Steel types and stuff. But unlike Sylveon, its main thing is it doesn't like fairies, of course. It literally can't do anything against them, especially Clefable. It's kind of like it's hard walled by it.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I
oh,
also wanted to say
mm-hmm.
it's one of the few dark types that fighting types like Medicham and Lopunny hate to see, because
Protect.
Umbreons usually run Protect and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
so you can like get in their head, and maybe that's one of the reasons why Keys likes Umbreon so much, because you can make like a Medicham user, scared of clicking high jump kick versus a dark type, which is pretty funny.
Yeah. Although it's not always ideal to play that game with Umbreon because if you lose you probably get knocked out. But still it's really solid mon. I think it definitely has a niche. Um, you can run it like either if you need to you can cater its a defensive bulk to your team what you need. Solid wish passer like we said. Yeah, that's all I got.
Yep, yep. Um, I know. I think Keys. I'm not sure if he was the one who told me about this set, but I think he was like thinking about it. I think it was like Curse
Oh
and
yeah,
Sword Art Umbreon.
wait, curse and stored power.
Yeah.
Oh man, that sounds so janky.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that was it. It might have been like something I heard on the internet or something like that, but
That sounds like
I
like an
think
MV team or a set,
yeah, true,
or
true.
maybe like a worse. I don't know. That's a little too bad. I think.
Yeah. Um, Next up we have Wheezing. So Wheezing, man, I gotta give props to Sarah, because Sarah has opened my eyes into many of the mons that are listed here. Weezing is one of them. So Weezing has very underrated bulk and has really solid stab combination as well. Uh,
Stab of poison to poison.
Poison and fire. Poison and fire is pretty solid.
Oh, it's not stab though. The
Um,
fire.
oh yeah, true, true. Yeah.
It's not that good.
So you can hit stuff like Ferrothorn loves to switch into this thing for some reason. You can just like flamethrower it, and that's pretty fun.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm pretty sure it's had flamethrower for many generations now, at least since Gen 3. So it's kind of funny people still fall for that.
yeah, yeah. And then it's one of those mons that has like low HP, but it can like use pain split pretty effectively too. Also has like levitate, so you can like stay in on landers pretty easily too. Its bulk is like it's like fat enough to stay in on a surprising number of super effective moves. I think I was fighting Sarah once and I was using Mega Metagross. That thing like ate a Zen Headbutt and then like it Will-O-Wisp me, and then my Metagross became useless basically. And then that's one of the annoying things about Weezing. You can like wisp your physical mons. So I think Sarah also had a game where they were able to like Will-O-Wisp a Medicham and neuter it that way.
Oh, don't
Um,
remind me of that game.
oh yeah, that game didn't end too well, but don't sleep on Weezing, guys. It can put in a lot of work. I think I've seen Keys use Weezing as well.
Oh, really? Oh,
Um,
that's cool.
yeah, and yeah, it's physical defense. Don't sleep on it. It can live a surprising number of hits, and it's very annoying to switch into
Well,
just because of that Wisp
mhm.
and Sludge Bomb fire combination. I think only Heatran can probably switch into it freely, but you can just pain spit up on if a Heatran is coming in or something like that. But most mons don't like switching into this.
One more thing I want to mention, it has levitate. So effectively, it only has one weakness, which is psychic, which is
True.
super easy to patch up. Like literally have a dark type or another psychic type, and then yeah,
Hmm.
I really like Weezing. I haven't used it much since that game. I lost, which wasn't Weezing's fault that I lost, by the way. Like Weezing did what it needed to do. It can beat or at least neutralize a Zen Headbuttless Mega Medicham. And I think most of them don't run Zen Headbutt, at least from what I've seen.
Yeah,
I don't think that Zen Headbutt's really necessary, personally. So
yeah,
it beats all the good Mega Medichams. I'll say. There you
true,
go.
true.
All right, now last I believe this is the last one of C tier. We have Whimsicott. So Whimsicott is like Tapu Bulu, but like bad, kind of. No, it has the same typing as Tapu Bulu and Grass Fairy, which is really interesting. It's yeah, resist grass. I mean, sorry, resist ground. It has like decent like physical defense if you fully invest in it. And with its HP, it has Prankster, which Prankster automatically makes it usable, no matter what else it had going on. But it's not. It's really not strong. I think it's like base 85 special attack or something. So it's pretty weak. It's got a good speed tier, although you probably won't invest in it because you want to use all your EVs for bulk and stuff. But
Mhm.
you got U-turn, which I think it's like the only fairy with like U-turn, which is interesting. Gets Leech Seed, gets Thunderwave, Encore, Memento, Screens,
Tailwind.
Tailwind. So it has some decent utility moves, and I actually used to like it a lot back in the day. All right, I used to run it a lot for some reason. I think it like had a nice defensive synergy with like Heatran, much like Tapu Bulu does
Ooh,
in
yeah.
future tiers. But yeah, I'd say it's more annoying than good, but it definitely has like a decent toolkit. So I think you can make it work on some teams, and it really isn't like anything else that does what it does or has its typing. So it's got that going
Yeah,
for it.
yeah. I was also one of those guys who loved to use Whimsicott back in the day, and troll my opponents for not being able to deal with it properly. Um, if you know how to use Whimsicott, then you can put in a lot of work, but usually versus like high level players that know what they're doing, it doesn't put in as much work as you think. And I think Amir used the team with like Tailwind Whimsicott, and like rather than Trick Room, he used Tailwind to boost slower stuff like Crawdaunt and sweep through teams with like SD.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I remember
so
that.
maybe that work. I think you have to like use lagging tail with it, so you get a slow U turn off, but you can still
Uh,
use priority moves.
yeah, it's
Um,
funny.
but yeah, usually it's like a niche option if you want
Yeah,
to, make a certain play style work. Then you use a Whimsicott as like a support mon.
yep. Solid support. Okay, I think this is our last
Yep,
page.
yep. This is the end, guys. This is the
Oh
end.
no, no wait. Oh no, yeah, it is the last real page.
Okay, okay. So
Okay.
next up, Absol.
Oh, one of my least favorite megas.
Yeah, this is um oh man, Absol. So we tried making Absol work for a week, and it doesn't, it's not consistent. I'd probably just say that. When you have to run Iron Tail on a mon, then that should be like a warning sign that you should have like red lights in your brain,
Dude,
going
we
off.
gave up on like on the Iron Tail. I think we used like return after because he kept missing.
Yeah,
We gotta use return for coverage. Like holy crap.
yeah, true. And Magic Bounce, like you may think it's a really good ability, but I swear, man, like we still get burned through Magic Bounce like somehow,
Yes,
and
he
it's
scalds.
like the most annoying thing ever. And then like every drill on the ladder has like toxic or something, so they just mold break through our Magic Bounce anyways. Um,
Or they don't even care like if you have magic bounce. They'll just like attack. It's like, oh, I'll come in on rocks. And it's like, oh no, wait. They realize they can just click any button and then knock us out. You know.
yeah, true. Um, I think the main thing like that's sad for this is that it's that like dark defensive type being bad, so you're kind of like susceptible to so many more priority moves compared to if you were like a Bisharp. Because Bish can still, resist Sucker Punch. It can resist Sucker Quick Attack. Um, it can resist like Talonflame's moves. Well, you wouldn't want to stay on it with Talonflame, but literally like the only thing that Absol resists is Sucker Punch, and usually the things that Sucker Punch you are Bisharp, which will honestly hit you very hard to begin with.
It'll
I
probably
honestly
knock you
think
out
that
if it's at +2 anyway.
Yeah, I honestly think that if you were 1v1 with the Bishop would win if you weren't like superpower or something on the Absol. Um, yeah, that's how Absol isn't as good as it seems. I think the main thing people are gung ho about it for is the speed tier being at 361. But the annoying thing is it doesn't really have much besides Sucker Punch and knockoff to work with. It doesn't have Iron Head like Bisharp does, and yeah, that's like the main thing about it.
I I think maybe we if we really want to make this thing work, just forget about Swords Dance entirely because you're never gonna get a chance to set it with this thing. Like it's not like the typing is that bad defensively. It's more so it's got such horrible bulk. Like I think it's like the only mega that actually doesn't improve its bulk at all upon evolving. Like it's got like what like base 70 defenses or something, or like 75 HP, something like that. Like it's so mediocre. It's so painfully mediocre or below average. Um, yeah, maybe if you just run like knock, sucker, pursuit, superpower, maybe, and just
or
ignore
or
fairies entirely.
yeah, or maybe like some sort of mix set to
Oh
spike
yeah,
something like Landers
yeah.
or
It does
or
get like
or
ice beam and flamethrower and usable special attack. Yeah, that
yeah,
could work too, but man, it's just so poopies.
yeah.
It's,
Um,
they just give it like a
yeah,
little more bulk, but honestly, like regular Absol is so weak defensively and slow. You know, I guess they chose to make it fast and strong instead of fast and bulky. I don't know. I feel like there's just no salvaging Absol. It's a real shame.
true.
This seems
Do,
like
do you,
this seems like a like a region variant. I think to make it viable, give it like fur coat or something. Kind of like a
oh yeah,
lowland. It was like a lowland Persian kind of thing.
yeah, that would be so clean with fur coat. Yeah, man, Game Freak, if you're watching this, please, in Gen 8 when you give us the gigas, please do that.
No,
Um,
no, give it like a Chad power. It like triples its attack stat. Then
yeah.
it might be good. Just like +3. Can you imagine
Oh
that? Oh my
man,
god, that'd be so good.
I feel like Amir is probably like furious with but
Dude, I don't care. It's bad, man. You're good.
yeah,
It's like we need like a guy who's like top 0.1% of ORAS players to make it viable. That should tell you it's not good. Anyway, um, was that you who said something about Absol? I forgot. I was complaining a lot about it.
I think it was me talking about Absol.
All right, Blissey. So another Amir favorite. Blissey doesn't really have much of a niche in the tier. I don't think. Like it gets lefties, but this is like before heavy duty boots, so it doesn't really have like a niche. And what permanent weather isn't really a thing, so it doesn't even have that. That it did in like Ubers in Gen 5, I believe. So yeah, Blissey, it's kind of just like a worse Chansey. Like you could run. I mean, it's hopefully like the more offensive Chansey, with with its really nice base 75 special attack and Calm Mind, I guess. But it's really just not as good as Chansey. Like Chansey is like Swampert on the physical side and like Chansey on the special side. I mean, I don't know. So Blissey loses out on that physical defense because it doesn't run any light, of course. And I mean, still good special defensively, but like I said, it's you're gonna run Chansey like 99.9% of the time. I'm pretty sure. Like I'm not sure what the niche is for Blissey. I don't know. You got anything?
I think that's yeah. I think you had most of the points regarding this.
Yeah, maybe we'll try to
Um,
call mine one day, but like it kind of just like dies to every physical move that's like strong.
yeah,
I don't know.
true. And yeah, like Chansey has a couple things going for it, and that's one of them. Like I think Chansey can take most fighting hits from stuff like drill and stuff as long as it has Eviolite on it, and that's something that Blissey can't do whatsoever.
Hmm.
So that yeah. All right, guys, you have Entei. So I know you guys definitely watched that live and have seen how much work Entei could do. Um, but moving the sarcasm aside, um, Entei usually is used as like a choice banded like physical set. Maybe you might see Howl, Life Orb,
Oh, that's a thing. Oh my
or
god,
yeah.
that sounds weird.
But yeah, but main thing with Entei is you want to spam Banded Sacred Fire, just burn your opponent. It's 50% chance to burn, so you have a pretty solid chance of destroying something pretty badly. Um, it also has Edgequake coverage, so it is pretty. I'd say it's
Oh, wait,
pretty.
hold on. When you say Edgequake, it's like bulldoze. It's not. That's not actually Quake.
Well,
That's the issue there too.
yeah, you got bulldoze. Never mind. I'm sorry, guys.
That's
Yeah,
okay. It's not
but
like a fighting move, does it? Right? I don't think that's close
nah,
combat.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think
I
that's
don't
the issue
think
with
so.
it. It need like a fighting move.
Yeah, the one thing I'll give it is it has access to extreme speed too, so that's always
That is
pretty
nice.
nice. But yeah, it is held back by the Sacred Fire PP and the weakness to rocks.
Hmm.
So you need some good support. But usually, if you have an Entei on your team, usually it is a sign that is very heat, and people will respect you for that. So that is why you use Entei, guys.
Hmm.
Um, as you can see in our live, Entei put in so much work. Um,
It needs some help though.
it
From
needs some help.
the big guy upstairs.
Yeah,
Thank you,
true,
Allah.
true. Yep. But definitely a mon you shouldn't sleep on. It can be scary with the right support.
Yeah. No, it definitely it can track you. Like probably the choice band set. Some games it just kind of goes in, but so those games are pretty few and far between, sadly. But it's definitely usable. I'll say no, it's a C minus here. It's probably like one of the better mons here. Okay, next up we have Espeon. So Espeon, Magic Bounce user, so it's got a pretty good ability. It's got a, it's like Gengar and Latios, kind of, in that it's got the 130 special attack, 110 speed. So that's really nice. Does get Calm Mind, does get access to stored power, I believe. But the issue is, once again, doesn't really have anything for dark types or um, even steel types, I'd say. So that's like HP fighting, I guess.
Hmm.
It doesn't get Focus Blast. Now, when the rare psychics that's like pretty like good looking on paper doesn't get fighting coverage. Um, and much like Mega Absol, like we got here, it has magic bounce. I feel like it's usually so frail it doesn't even come into play usually. I mean, sometimes you may forget about it because it's like oh, it's Espeon, whatever. I think that's when it's good when people underestimate it. But like otherwise, it's like you know this kind of gets outsped and killed by a lot of things that come in to revenge kill it, even if it does get a kill or something. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's well, I'll say there's like better evolutions and there are, but they're not like that much better that they're notable. I just realized did we ever put a Vaporeon on this? I don't think we ever put a Vaporeon on this list.
Yeah.
Oh, Vaporeon's I think better too. Even though we didn't put it here, it's got the water absorb, wish protect thing going on.
True, true.
But yeah, Espeon, hits hard I guess. Doesn't have great coverage options. Frail,
Mm.
dark type food,
Yeah,
scarf food. Sorry.
yeah. It honestly has like the same treatment as Zam in that it's like held back by the speed, and it's also, yeah, like Sarah mentioned, it doesn't have focus blast to even hit the dark, so you're kind of in a tough spot on that end.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next up, Halucha.
Pictured
So
on the right.
yes, picture on the right. So there's no Tapu Koko here, so you can't run your Koko Luchas. Best thing you can run is probably your main Luchas, which doesn't really do much. But main thing holding back Halucha is that juicy Clefable usage. So you guys probably know that calc in your head by now. Uh, Clef easily tanks +2 Acro from Halucha and can KO it with Moonblast. And there's no seeds that you can work with, so you ain't getting that Spadef boost, and you're gonna drop. Unfortunately, there's too many things in the tier that can take a hit from Halucha and absolutely destroy it. Um, I think if you want a shot at using Halucha, use it with like screens, so it's a little bit more bulky and can take a hit.
Mm,
But other than that, there's like way too many things in this way. There's Zapdos, there's Landorus, there's Priority, Lopunny, Medicham, Pinsir, Talonflame, all that good stuff.
mm.
And there's no like psychic terrain either, so yeah, you are susceptible to way more stuff on the offensive priority side, and you have stuff like Slowbro and Clef that can easily tank a hit and uh, deal with you with T Wave or Moonblasting you that such. So it really can't get it going. If you can run it with the right support, props to you. But usually it is held back by many things.
I don't think I've ever seen it put in work in OU. Like it was great in UU. I think it's banned from there, but in OU it just never really broke through. Okay, we have Magneton. So Magneton, even though it's C minus, it does have a niche. So Magneton, if you get a choice scarf, it does outspeed Talonflame at our max speed. So they can't like flare blitz you, and you quad resist. If they're flying, and then you thunderbolt, and probably likely kill it. But the issue with that is most most Talonflame aren't going to stay in on that because most of them are like bulky and not you know running Flare Blitz. I think Flare Blitz is more uncommon now. Usually it just usually the only fighting move you'll see is a Will-O-Wisp. So um, yeah, its main thing is it's a faster Magnezone slightly, base 70 instead of 60. But like I
Mm.
said, it doesn't really come into play that much. You could probably run it with the Magnezone maybe. It might be kind of fun, like double steel trap. But not sure why I would do that. Yeah, I mean it's like a worse Magnezone in most situations. I guess you could give it Eviolite, but then it's still like weak to like ground, like quadra weak to ground. So yeah, I mean Electric Steel is actually like really solid defensive typing. It gets a lot of resist. It's just that its weaknesses are so common. Like fire, fighting, ground. Those are pretty bad. So
Yeah.
yeah, C minus it is.
All right. Moving on. Actually, before we finish here, I think we should mention Milotic, because I think that is also a very underrated mon, which I don't think we put on here.
Oh man, we have a
But
lot
I
of
know
water types.
Schneider, yeah, Schneider put like Schneider. If you guys didn't know, is an SPL player. I think there was a match between uh, I think it was like John Filch and PJ, where which had like Malog. Malog didn't even come out, but the main thing with Milotic is you can, it's a bulky water that can deal with Volcarona to an extent. It has decent recovery, unlike Volcanion. And the main thing with with the Milotic is you can haze away the Volcarona and scald it and stuff. So it works very similar to. Actually, you guys probably don't know how to use drag algae, but I'd say it's probably very similar to that. Um, yeah, you just has that niche of being able to switch into most water types. It has decent coverage in Scald, Ice Beam, and has stuff like Haze and Recover.
And toxic, of
Uh,
course.
and Toxic too. Yeah, work with. Also has Marvel Scale, so its defense, which is kind of low compared to its special defense, but being able to be both specially and physically bulky is very nice,
Yeah,
especially when you're a bulky water to begin with.
yeah. I think like base 79 defense, which if you fully invested, it's pretty good. It's got like a solid HP stat, solid speed tier too. It's like a base, was it 95 or something, or base
Yeah, it's pretty surprisingly fast.
or 85? I forget. 80?
Yeah,
I forget. It's not too bad. I think it might be 80. That sounds right. Anyway,
so
one of my first teams actually had a melodic on it. I really liked how like fat it was, and I ran competitive, which actually gives it like some offense. You know, if like a Landover comes in, you'll get like the +2 special attack, and then you just drop it with like Scald or Ice Beam or whatever.
oh, true.
Um, also gets Coil, which is really interesting. It's too bad it's a special. I mean, it's a physical attack is so bad because if it had like even like if it just had even like mediocre attack like base like 90, it would probably be usable. But sadly, it's like base 65 or 50 or something like really low. I forget. But for what it is, it's still pretty good. It's definitely usable at least.
Sure.
Just
And
it's just usually there's other water types that do more things. Like Bro has Regenerator, T Wave, you know, things like Flamethrower, Calm Mind. My
sure,
logic
sure,
doesn't get
sure.
that.
Speaking of mons that can do many things, we have Moltres. So Moltres, if you have seen our, I think it was in the Diggersby live, but um, Moltres is uh is a funny mon. And usually you want to run it with uh, good hazard removal, like drill, and maybe if you want to run Moltres with Zapdos, you can do that. I know Amir made a stall team where it was like double pressure spam with sub Zapdos and sub uh, Moltres, which is very annoying to deal with, and it was honestly a very solid team. Um, though how Sarah and I ran it is we ran Flame Body Moltres with like spinner drill, and we ran like I think we ran like Mega Altaria. So those steel types that love to bullet punch Mega Altaria. Those bullet punches feel different when we got a flame body Moltres in the back, and the scariest thing about it is we were Cotton Guard Altaria, I think. So if the opponent steel type got burned just once, even if they were at +6, they still get walled by Cotton Guard Altaria, which was crazy. And the thing is, most of the things that want to revenge kill Altaria don't like Moltres whatsoever. Even you'd be surprised. I think Moltres has better defense than Zapdos, but it has lower SPDF. And this thing ate banded Icicle Crash from Weavile like it was nothing. It's absolutely insane. Like the only thing holding it back is that 4 times rock weakness.
Yeah.
It has all the coverage it needs. We ran flamethrower, toxic, HP ground that hit basically everything.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, we ran that with Cotton Guard Altaria, which honestly paired really well with it. It was a Beedrill team at first, but we soon realized how
Beach was
bad
too bad.
Beedrill was.
It's too bad.
But yeah, don't sleep on Moltres. You need finesse to use it, but flame body Moltres hits differently, guys. Your opponent will be afraid to U-turn with literally anything. They'll be afraid to bullet punch. They'll be afraid to use any sort of physical priority move versus you. Don't sleep on it.
All right, the last mon on the list, Shaman. Uh, it's got Seed Flare. It's got the 100 base stats all around, like Mew and the other, what they call them, pixies or something. I forget what they call those mons.
Yep, yep. I think they're pixies.
Yeah. Um, I think it's Earth Power. Dazzling Gleam, Leech Seed. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's like usually seen as like an offensive grass type, but it doesn't really have like much of a niche really. Like, and even though we're saying offensive grass type, it's like base 100 special attack. Like the coverage is okay. You still need to run like HP Fire for like like Ferrothorns and Scissors and stuff to actually hit them. Um, it's really not something you see much. I think like even in its debut generation, where it was like had a niche at one time, it still was niche still. And now power creep and like way better options nowadays. Like Superior exists.
Yeah.
No, I mean Venusaur Mega exists. I mean Roserade was around back then and still around today, and I still rather use that. Um, yeah, I don't know. It's a mon that doesn't really like do anything. You like I don't know. Most of like the special defensive mons like deal with it. Like it's not switching in on a Heatran. It's not like doing anything to Tornadus. It's probably not doing anything to Clefable. Also, like gets lucky with like Sea Flares, and the Clefable doesn't have like T Wave or Calm Mind or something.
And I
Uh,
think Seafler has like a low PP too, right?
I
Something.
think it's 8 max. I
Okay.
think. I mean, it's like 120 base attack. I would assume it's not too high. And it misses too. It's like a Grass Fire Blast, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is like, yeah, like Sarah mentioned, it's probably, if you were to compare it, it'd be like Serpier, but Serp has many more things going for it offensively, at least, especially with that contrary boost. Uh, I will give this to Shaman though. Shaman can use HP whatever it wants as well as Earth Power to hit each end, whereas with the Serp you kind of have to
Or the
pray
other. Yeah.
your HP hidden power is the correct one to hit whatever is in front of you.
Yeah. You gotta like choose. But you don't do that with Shaman necessarily. Although I will say the Sky version is pretty good. If that was an ORAS, if that was an OU,
Oh, true,
it'd
true.
probably be really good. 127 base speed and 120 special attack with Serene Grace, Air Slash.
Oh,
It's basically like a faster Togekiss.
yeah, yeah.
And the Sea Flare actually does like 80% chance to drop the special defense by 2, which is
Oh
also
my
kind of
God.
silly. Yeah, that's kind of silly. But sadly, this is just regular Shaman. Doesn't get any of that good stuff. Well, I think we're at the end. So, how did we do? Do you agree? Disagree? Let us know in the Chimeco box below. And don't
Yeah.
forget to lick a tongue, like, bronzong, subscribe and ring the bell. And yeah, let us know how we did, guys. Now, I know we missed some water types. Like, I know a lot of Vaporeon fans, I'm sure. They'll be
Oh yeah.
upset that we don't have, their favorite breeding material on the list. But sorry, a huge oversight by us if we did miss it. Uh, I think we probably did. But yeah. Anything else we missed? I don't think we had like base Gardevoir on here or base Heracross. I wish I put Heracross on here. I think Heracross is actually
Oh,
solid,
true, true.
like with Scarf and Moxie, because clicking on close combat's pretty fun,
True, true.
and Mega
Oh,
Horns are fun too. What's up?
yeah. Let us know if you have any hidden gems, because I know some of you people were surprised to see Druddigan on there, but uh, based on what we've tested in our lives, Druddigan is a really solid
It,
mod
it
to
it's
use.
it's good. Yeah, I don't care. It's good. Defensively, offensively, it works either way. Although defensively, it's probably outclassed by Garchomp. Still in the lower tiers, it's good with that. But I mean, like sheer force, base 120 attack, like that move pool. I don't know. It's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. So please let us know. We'd love to, use some suggestions of what you have, our hidden gems, and we'll probably, if you have a good one, we'll use it in a live too.
Yeah,
But
let
yeah,
us know, guys. Feel free. Tell us if you think we overlooked something, which I'm sure we maybe we did. All right, guys. I think that's about it.
yep, yep. We'll see you guys around for the next one. Peace.
Later.